And we're back with the question and answer session, or what has been dubbed After Dark by the community. Where we take questions.
Whoa. Let's be clear. Where did the After Dark come from?
Was it you?
Was it the community? What? Yeah, it was me.
Oh, okay. Was it you with Fast Cart?
You owe me some money. You literally coined this phrase, trademarked it. That was me, man. The community.
Night
yeah,
Cobb.
I mean, Fast Cart was on that one. Yeah, no. I told Paul, I was like, I like to think of your Q&A session as the After Dark session of the podcast. But yes, of course, Fast Cart was on that night because, Fast Cart delivers that After Dark style content.
Yes.
And I just set him up for one of his classic jokes without even intending to.
Yeah.
There's a Fast Cart joke in there.
I don't think Fast Cart actually responded to that. He's gotten better at holding back on that. And then Darge is also claims that it's also after Darge when Darge.
Yeah, I was about to say, if he was here, he would take issue with that.
Yeah. So, with that being said, this is where we take questions from the chat. But if you missed our discussion on player-generated content and why it's so important for CIG to get it right and to get it done quicker than it is, it'll be right above Night Cobb's head. We can click that link. Or if you're listening to this in the on the podcast, we move right along. For those of you who are like, well, I want to see all of or listen to all of this or watch all of this in one go. I don't want to have to do the two videos. Well, that's what we do on the podcast. The podcast is just all one 2 to 3 plus hour block where I just cut out the intermission and you can listen to all of it. So check that out in the podcast if you want to do that one. But we're going to be taking questions with the context is that we did just do a hour-long session on just what player-generated content is and why it's important for Star Citizen to embrace it. We've mentioned a lot of EVE. We mentioned Star Wars Galaxies and so on and so forth because those were the big ones. But let me pull up the questions. The first question comes from Idiocracy 2025, who asks, do you think the race to get the first Bengal, if things set up as advertised for 1.0 with player stations and Pyro having the best quality resources, will create its own player story? Yeah.
Undeniably.
I'm a huge fan of those sort of, I guess they're just like 100 days, but like I'm a big fan of players who take on challenges in games like Project Zomboid, Minecraft, or DayZ, or RimWorld, or those sort of where they do sort of their story of them completing something. And yeah, I think every goal-based objective, personal goal-based objective is gonna make interesting stories. So big fan of that. MPCDN asks, do you think CIG added NPC ships flying around, or do you think if CIG added NPC ships flying around, that a great deal of player-driven content would be added?
I don't think I understand that question.
I think the idea is that I think what MP is thinking about is if you add the ships, NPC ships, those ships would function similarly to tools for a sandbox. So instead of having to like focus on fighting other players for resources and such, instead what you're doing is you're fighting you can go pirate an NPC convoy, or sort of like a random encounter. Now you have NPCs that can do stuff.
I might argue that that's not player-driven content, though.
No, I agree. That is sandbox gameplay, but I don't think it's player-driven content. Then there is a differentiation, as we talked about. Like emergent gameplay involves other players being involved, and CIG still has control over those NPCs. So they'll still have to change the spawn rate of those NPCs, adjust some of those difficulties. So there's still some CIG involvement that's not just base gameplay. So while it's cool, I don't think it's the same thing as player generated content. What do you think, Nycub?
I think that's just like a smaller context of you go back to the idea of like the NPC driven economy primarily, where they came out the idea like, whoa, NPCs will, outnumber the players 9-1. And then anything they shift in the direction of NPCs, like I don't want to watch NPCs play the game and have more fun at this and have more control over the game than I do. I feel like they've built a perfect sandbox for the players, similar in Eve, to just run the economy, do all the things, and be the things that they originally wanted the NPCs. And the NPCs should be background. It should be us at the forefront. And I like the idea that it's primarily us engaged in content with each other rather than the NPCs. I mean, don't get me wrong, they could facilitate some things, but let's not make them the focus of what we're doing in the verse.
Yeah,
Something's really weird with your mic levels. It's like picking up certain things, then it's dropping super low. So I don't know if it's a setting or something.
It doesn't look like his position because I watch when it happens and he's not
moving. And it just jumps you up and down.
So I will work on it.
It might be Discord. Discord might be messing with something.
Well, so you're cutting in and out for me while you're talking.
That may be as well.
That's kind of one of those things. Like I don't know if Discord's really the problem or if it's the mic software.
Discord's been a little wackadoo here.
It is. So let me turn something off. I'm gonna turn off my noise suppression. So that probably will fix it a little bit.
In the aviation world, we would call that squelch.
Yeah.
We need to adjust it because it's not picking up your audio.
Yeah, but we got what we were saying. So, MP asks, you all had a great idea, but what 3 do you think CIG can add within minimum dev time? I think what we said, the 3 things, like contract, changing it so you can have contract hits, instead of pushing pursuing charges. The idea of territorial control with base building and how that functions, and the shop idea. I don't think the shop idea is that much of a complicated thing because they're already going to build that out anyways, and it would be a lot easier for them to build out that section and test it in a specific way that they can then copy that idea over to base building. So, all right. Do y'all think, is there anything that you would add that would take minimal dev time? You said a lot of them, like you said like a few ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Radar, what was your minimal dev idea?
The minimal one was the social tools that they demoed.
Tools. Yeah.
So to be honest, like I would rather them not take any time away to do a quick fix.
Yeah.
I would like to see them stay focused and plow through the stuff that they talked about. Because if they can nail some of it, a good chunk of it, those are some that they've already announced some really good mechanics that would help us get further into the player generated content realm and really nurture that whole thing. So I want to see them keep chugging heads down and make it happen.
So more like a refocus rather than just like a complete overhaul. And
I think a priority on the social tools would be good because that's one of the first things that allows us to have some some vision into the player community while we're online. Right now, everybody's still just a random group of letters and as a ship in the distance.
Yeah.
And there's no way to really know who you're engaging with and why you would want to engage with them, other than you saw them first and decided to shoot first.
Yeah, and it's important to also note that like by prioritizing social tools and even player generated content, that takes the pressure off of CIG. Because now instead of having to be like, every month we need to have something new and flashy to get some people to go, now it's like they can focus on every 2 months or every 3 months to release something, as long as they have solid player generated content, because people will drift back to those ideas, but they'll stick to what they can get done with the player stuff. So, all right. Next question comes from Steve the Dancer, who asks, with what is announced in monthly report for July and an ePTU test for Monday, what do you expect to be live by end of the year?
So that's going to be a tricky one. And I will add, your voice cutout is getting worse. Like
It's getting
I
worse?
barely heard like I barely heard like 3 or 4 words out of that.
Let me try to
I'm glad it's not just me.
let me reconnect.
Well, it is me, I guess.
Let me reconnect real quick.
Okay.
Let's go with Central. There you go. Is my voice better or worse?
So far, but we'll have to find out. Like,
Okay.
we'll have to get through it and see how it goes. But you definitely sound clear at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
No video yet.
So Andy, what do you expect to see at the end of the year, based off of all the like the ePTU stuff we're seeing and the all of the monthly report stuff they've talked about, all of the new features?
Let me say none of us have any video, at least not on my end. But to answer the question, I would say I think we're going to get some form of engineering for the end of the year. I think they're really, I think they're about to release it on the tech preview. That puts them one step closer to actually having something that's tested, had some minimal bug fixes put in place, and might get them to and putting into a regular PTU so that we can then get it into the PU. So if engineering is gonna be the first thing I would say. I think they did say also that they were going to have fire in before the end of the year.
Well, fire in engineering go hand in hand.
I think technically it wasn't. There's no given that that's the case, really. But they are both, they're both related to engineering in the sense that a fire will take out some of your equipment. From a tech standpoint, they aren't necessarily connected. So yeah, I would say at least those things. Beyond that, like I've been terrible at predicting. Like, I really thought we'd have a lot more in place. I've already lost a few bets on this internally in our org, which is enemy contact, by the way, and we're recruiting. I had made some bets internally. I said, look, if I get this wrong, I'll give a bunch of ships away to people inside the org and empty my pocket. I think they taking this turn to get the bugs fixed has changed everything. So that's what makes it a little bit more difficult. But they clearly have even though the last event was a little bit buggy, they've definitely made the servers a lot more stable and a lot more realistic to play. So I think we do have a good shot at getting at least the engineering and the fire stuff out before the end of the year. Maybe even hacking, because they've been talking about it so much in the monthly reports. But I'm not sure. What do you think, Nightcop? I'm kind of curious to know what else other people think.
I don't think we're getting fire this year. I'll go with, I think engineering's going to get the tech preview. I think fire is kind of interesting because you know how they are. Like if they kind of don't want to reveal like how much longer it's going to be till something, they stop talking about it. And they have pretty much completely stopped talking about fire this year.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they can't get it to be performant on the servers the way they're at right now, and they're worried about the compromise to the servers because they've gotten this last patch being a little bit of an exception. They've gotten pretty good stability. It's kind of like I put fire in the same category as like bounty hunting V2. Like they were like, we talked about this for a while, and then it was like, okay, let's hope the community forgets because we're not ready, and then they just stopped. But engineering, at least, they're main. And I agree with you on hacking. Hacking is a solid maybe for me for end of the year, mainly because they're talking about it in the monthly reports. Yeah. I'm really curious. I don't know that we'll get it by the end of the year. I really freaking hope so because I don't know. They've really got to lock this down sooner rather than later. The new flight model upgrades.
Yeah.
And then maybe control surfaces because they are still talking about it in the monthly report. Well, let me actually rephrase. Not the control surfaces, the flight control system, the IFCS. Okay. Yeah.
So the 4.3 patch has some tweaks to the flight models for some of the ships. So you're right. Maybe they are making some progress there. Yeah. One other thing I should probably add, maybe some form of crafting. So we already have crafting in vultures and things like that. Basic single material stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with like a small mini crafting device.
Like a small portable thing, like they have in
Fabricator.
the Onyx facilities. They have the tiny little fab
Yeah,
boxes.
something like that. Because
So.
they might want to have some form of being able to test that mechanic out. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wishful thinking.
I don't think we're going to see engineering this year. I think it'll be tested, and I think it'll be released next year. But I think CIG is starting really late to test it out, and because if you think about it, they're putting it into tech preview, and we know that in the past CIG has done a tech preview, and it's like 6 months after they start the tech preview that they actually release it. So usually when they put something in tech preview, it's going to take some time. We got 5 months in the year. So if they started doing tech preview of engineering in this month, it wouldn't be out on their average date. With their average, it wouldn't be out until January, which we know they don't release in January. So it'd be like February or March.
There's one rationale to think contrary to that. With this new approach to making sure that they work out all the bugs, they may just be really being extra cautious to avoid introducing a big change like engineering into the PTU cycle, because they need it still for the regularly scheduled patches like the Onyx, the upcoming Onyx stuff, content that they need to have. And if they were to introduce engineering in, they find out that it's too buggy, it'd be too hard to pull it out. My thought is that they're going to keep chugging along on the regular patch cycle with the PTU PU cycle, and the tech preview is going to be just for us to go in and work out the bugs. And I think again, I've gotten it wrong, but maybe I got it right this time. Maybe they're going to be able to work out the kinks in engineering and get enough of it so that they can put it into the live stream before the end of the year. So I'm a little bit more optimistic than I might have been.
I do think that it's possible that we'll see an EPTU with all of this stuff at the end of the year, so CIG can basically be like, it's out, it's there, but it's going to shove it into an EPTU that we won't get we'll be testing out for another 3 months after it's released before it's actually released. It's kind of like how they did with 4.0. Like 4.0 was released, but it wasn't really released. You could still play the older version. So like I could see them doing that, because the one thing that CIG seems to be hellbent on every year is at the end of every year, they want to release something that's of a substantial change to the game, moving the game forward in some way. It's usually not enough for content, but it is at least something in terms of like, a
milestone to claim.
So, and it seems like CIG, especially if you've been reading the monthly reports, pretty much every month since March, they've mentioned crafting, base building, engineering, scanning, all of these things month to month. So it's clear if they're talking about it like that, then they're working on it. But it's so it's a matter of just will it bother the stability, and at what level do they want to release it at is the question. So,
Paul, I got a question for you real quick. I'm gonna do my own little question. So this is probably gonna impress some people. You put out a good point about Squadron 42 a while back. And it just occurred to me while you were talking about this, about them talking about stuff and that's release window kind of thing. You talked about at one point, hey, Squadron 42 doesn't just get like a surprise release. Like that's got to go through a marketing cycle, and that marketing cycle usually starts a year out. Now they announced CitizenCon last year, right? 2026. We are now in August of 2025. And if like anybody was hopeful that that was the beginning of the year of 2026, would you argue that your previous point of like, hey, they haven't gone through like a marketing cycle, they haven't even started a marketing cycle now, other than their trailer and the gameplay, the vertical slice essentially from 2024, like they haven't done any of that to prep for a potential release? And you said essentially a year out when you would expect that to start.
Yeah,
for 6 months at a minimum.
Minimum 6 to 9 months. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's looking more and more like Squadron 42 is lining up closer to the end of 2026 based on that same logic?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of factors that I personally have looked into. One of which is a discussions with people who work on Squadron about what's going on. in confidential ways, and all of them have effectively said it's coming out in 2026. It may be rough. It may be crawling across the finish line in 2026, but it's coming out.
December 31st.
Yeah. So, and the more I've looked at like the marketing and like the way they've talked about Squadron, the more I'm like, I've been saying December, like the second or third week of December is when they'll probably release Squadron, which it's close to Christmas, and it's technically still in 2026. And so that way they have a release date, because not a lot of games will release that late in the year. They try to release in October or November so they can capture all of the big sales. But since CIG isn't printing out physical copies for everyone, they have the luxury of having been able to like go right before the holiday break. And if they release it a couple of weeks before the full holiday break for even for themselves, then they'll at least have time to hot fix it if they need to have hot fixes here and there. So, yeah, no, that's a good point there, Nightclub. It's always important to take a look at like all of the different realities of game development, not just is it done, because it's got to be, is it done? Is it marketed? Is it tested? Has it been, there's a lot of different parts. And if a couple of those parts are falling off or don't line up, it's probably not going to happen. You have to kind of see all of these things work together. So, releasing a fall winter alongside most other major AAA games companies is a massive mistake, in my humble opinion. A release in spring that leads into an ILW would make them so much money with that competition. Yeah, but we're not at that. I highly doubt we're going to see Squadron 42 release in June of 2026.
Take a deep breath of reality.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That means that they would have to start the marketing blitz now, and they haven't. And there's no indication. Someone asked if they're going to Gamescom. They confirmed at Quantum Vegas they are going to Gamescom, but it's not going to be a booth. It's just they're going to wander around Gamescom. And so if you,
oh really?
Yeah.
And I thought they were actually really like gonna be there in a presence.
So
yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next question. Is my voice still good for y'all? You all can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Flawless. No cutouts.
All right. It could also be because I've realized that y'all are cutting in and out on my end, but I know the recording never picks up. So it could just be my audio software, for whatever reason, is struggling because of the higher CPU usage when I'm recording and streaming at the same time. So, because I also bumped up the recording quality from bare minimum to minimum of what everyone suggested it be at the 1440 range. So it's working. It just sometimes it struggles because the CPU is trying to do both. Steve the Dancer asks, with what is announced in the monthly report for July and EPTU test for Monday? Oh, no, where do you answer? Access 0096 asks, do you believe the Onyx facilities are related to the municipal works and depths featured in CitizenCon 2024?
No. I will say that it's all new. So the Valacar stuff that we did was just the Good Doctors mission from Arena Commander repackaged. So that was kind of fairly straightforward for them to do. From the videos that I've seen of the Onyx facility stuff, it looks all new.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some of the assets have come from Squadron 42 for that. But I don't think that it doesn't seem to resemble what they demoed for the underground facility stuff. It looks different. This stuff looks like stuff that we haven't seen before. So I kind of feel like it's my guess here is that it's unrelated.
I think the closest we're going to get is that some of the assets they built out for Onyx will end up being part of the municipal works, but like generic, like the power core and the rock textures they use for underground, like we're like really bare bones stuff. I don't think it's connected in the sense that they're going to be the same or reusing the whole. No, I think it's just mostly just because they also originally these were supposed to be the cooperative zones, so there wasn't supposed to be like PvP content there. It's supposed to be just PvE content. So, yeah. What do you think, Nightcob? Do you think this is related to the depths?
No, I'm with Radar on this one. I think this is I think this is just, they had like you said, cooperative zone content that they were going to be um using, and then they developed these areas for it. And, that didn't pan out in term. I think, don't get me wrong, uh could it translate into similar style content further down the road? So maybe there was an aim of it of like, well, let's try this, and then maybe if this works out well, we can use it for that later too. Sure. But I think this is unrelated. I don't think they're
Yeah.
ready for that whole instance dungeon content
Yeah.
necessarily yet.
No.
I think it's undeniable that they're reusing assets from the other games because it makes sense to do it that way. Like the only reason why we've seen the Kraken in the game, I can guarantee you, is because they needed it for Squadron 42. It just has no interior, but and we know the Reclaimer got released because that was one of the first ships they needed for Squadron 42. If you look back over the years, you can see a lot of instances where they kind of pulled assets and work from Squadron 42 and released it in the game in the PU to get some content out of it. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the stuff is already out there somewhere.
I agree. I do think that the municipal work stuff is still something that they're working on, but I also think that that's cooperative zone because it's supposed to be PvE co-op, but it's supposed to be effectively a PvE version of the contested zones. That's what it's supposed to be, and we don't have any of that aspect because for those of you who haven't seen it or don't remember it, the idea of the municipal works was that you'd have sort of an open area, sort of PvE PvP mixed, or the municipal works, and then the depths where you go to these individual places and you go down, and it would be PvE. And as you cleared a level, you would reach an elevator. It would take you all the way to the top. And then when you wanted to come back to that area, you would go to that elevator and take you back down to where you last were, and then it'll have the option to go further down. So you have just different levels every time. So you clear a region, and then you can kind of hit a save point, as it were. And that was all PvE based. So none of the Onyx facilities feel like contested zones. They don't really have that same sort of vibe. There are some similar things, like having to escape using specific elevators once you come in, but I don't think you're gonna be locked out from exiting the municipal works from where you came in like you do in the Onyx facilities. So, all right. Boop. All right. Next question comes from Steve That Answer, who asks, what e-ships do you think will release at IAE? What ships are you looking to get at IAE?
When is IAE? That's the end of the year, right?
IAE's in November, yeah.
November. I think the Apollos will probably come out. Definitely we'll see the Kruger before then. Or not the Kruger. Is it the Kruger? Yeah, Kruger is the manufacturer.
Yeah, it's the Wolf.
The Wolf.
Yeah. That looks slick, by the way. That'll be interesting.
Does look slick.
Hopefully it's fast and agile. That'll be neat. And maybe the Perseus. Perseus definitely, because it's already in Log Zero, and if they really want to rake in the big bucks, they want that bad boy ready to go.
I will agree with you. Perseus and
Perseus
and Apollo. It's going to be a very RSI IAE. Like Perseus, Apollo, and that starter salvage ship that they're doing. All three of them will release at the same time, and it'll be very, very happy. RSI fans be eating good. Nightcob, any other thing you think might release?
Is an e-ship like an e-girl?
Yes.
Like, what's the difference?
I think that was a typo.
It might have been.
I'm guessing that was a typo.
I'm going to start calling them e-ships because I think that will definitely differentiate them between like actual ships and internet spaceships. It's just
that's actually a good idea.
It's a quick shorthand for internet spaceships.
Huh? That was what you were doing, right? That was like the ship waifus.
Ship waifus. Yes.
Yeah, or waifus. Yeah. Yeah. Those are cool, by the way. Yeah. No, actually, you hit literally all the ones that I would have guessed too.
Okay. The only other things I can think of, because we know we're going to get a couple more, is we got the Wolf, we've got the Paladin is
Ooh, yeah, maybe the Paladin.
it's in like getting close. It's getting closer to Gray Box review. The Ironclad, though, I don't think the Ironclad's going to make it this year because it's still kind of behind.
Yeah.
We know that they have got the salvage ship from RSI. We know that we've got the Wolf coming out. We have two unknowns, but we then also have the Perseus and the Apollo. So of the 9 ships which are in production, we only know 2 of them, well, 10 ships technically, because you have the 2 versions of the Ironclad. 2 of them are not going to make it this year, likely, and then 2 of them are going to, we don't know about. So 6, and there are 5 months left in the year. So 5 months in the year, we've got 6 ships, plus probably a concept ship. A ship. We know the CIG will release a ship a month. So,
Did I miss something in the monthly report? Is the Connie getting a rework that I'm not tracking?
no, there's no mention of the Connie being a rework.
You know what? There's no official one, but I got to admit, with all the RSI work they're doing, if you look at the Zeus, I was just thinking about this the other day. I mean, the Connie is one of the original RSI ships. It's absolutely in need of a makeover. If they have all these kits from the Apollo and the Zeus and all this stuff, they might want to bring it up to date, and maybe they'll just change the interior a little bit. I don't know how much they would tweak the outside, but like there certainly would seem to be room for them to change the materials and the textures on the inside of the ship.
The
I
big
feel
one
like
is
chat's like trying to will it into existence. Somebody is.
well, we know that the Aurora is likely undergoing a review right now because they took the Aurora starter package off the store.
Oh, really?
There is no more Aurora MR starter package. The $45 starter package is only the Mustang Alpha.
God, that's a whole other topic someday, but talk about something that needs to start happening more of is that I wish they would just focus on more so than making new ships is gold standards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because that also, by the way, is getting in the way of player generated content in the form of like salvaged materials and stuff like that. Like if you just gave us the ability to salvage, say, components off Mark II Hornets and F8C Lightnings and, like half the executive hangar ships, as well as some of even the Wicklow ones that, come with the military components. Like we're talking about like half of these ships that come out of those events that you can have full stealth, full grade A military, like the Cuddy, I already mentioned some of the other ones. Like only 2 out of the 5 of those ships, like practically has components that you can salvage and then sell to other players. Like that's stuff that I would like to see them work on in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't answer that earlier, but
I agree. I think there's got to be some changes. Like we know that the Freelancer needs its interior touched up. The Connie needs its interior touched up. The Aurora needs its touched up. But I think just giving all of the
for components.
Yeah, giving all of the Cutlass's components would be nice. There are 4 Cutlass variants. Giving all those Cutlass variants for components would be a huge deal in terms of getting more stuff. Or the Hornets. There are, because I don't even think the Mark I Hornets have components. So you've got
neither class, neither the Mark I, and there's 16, I think, Hornets overall.
Okay,
and none of them have components.
Yeah, so that's 16 ships that you could easily knock out if you just got because if you do the Mark II and the Mark Is, they pretty much have the same layout except for the Super Hornets, which are just slightly longer. So you could probably knock those out within 1 or 2 rounds of working on. And then you also have like the Connie has no components, but the Freelancer does. It's just weird.
Yeah. It only recently got those components too.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to stay on that note for just a little bit, but you asked about like things that'll come out and things that I still just wonder about. It's like we're gonna get some facet of engineering this year, but there's still just a gross number of ships that don't have components, and I wonder how that works.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think engineering is required for those ships to function. Because you got to know where the freaking power plant is on a ship in order to target that power plant to take it out with engineering and with Maelstrom. Like we need those things. And Chris seemed to be pretty confident about both of those things coming in sooner than later. It's like, well, that means you've made an invulnerable Hornet because the Hornet's power plants cannot be targeted because it doesn't exist. So I have to blow up the Hornet piece by piece to make it stop working. Like,
I wonder about that stuff. If engineering comes out and only the players with gold standard ships have the ability to repair their components because they can access them, and the players that have like these, what if that's the thing that kills the Mark II Hornet? Is like, well, I'm not flying that thing anymore. I'll go back to the Gladius because at least if something gets damaged, I can repair. Using the gun because I can access the component in the bay. I can't do anything with the Hornet except land it at a pad.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
All right, next question comes from AM, who asks, how do you think player-driven content will shape the long-term economy and politics of the Star Citizen universe? A lot.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to see that be the case, to be a lot, because like I said, the scripted content that the studio makes is handy and necessary, and fun, most of it. But the organic player generated storyline is usually infinitely more complex and elaborate and engaging because it's always evolving, it's always changing. It puts real human thinking and strategy against other humans. It's the equivalent of a nerd's team sport. And ideally, if CIG is able to take the right cues from other games like Eve and other long-term MMOs, and supply those mechanics to let the community grow with it and really run with it, it would be huge and significant. I mean, like, again, you can. I always fall back to Eve and their examples in the media about the long-term wars that have gone on. There are videos on YouTube with millions and millions of views that go into elaborate documentary-style detail about the World War B.
And Battle of BR 5RB is what I just looked it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And all of the intrigue that goes along with it. That stuff is like gold and magic. And if CIG can make the right tools available in the game, territory wars, combat, player trading, all of that good stuff, all those mechanics that help make those things a reality, a possibility, then yeah, it should and should play a huge role in how the community evolves through politics and the economy.
I think CIG. Look at Jumptown. Look at Daemon Rally. Both of those were player-driven events, which CIG canonized. They are now official lore that the Daemon Rally is an official piece of Star Citizen lore. So is the original Jumptown event that spawned all of the dynamic events we have today. So like, yeah, I could see these sort of things shaping the direction because the writers and the developers are following these as much as we are. The thing that you got to remember is that most of the devs, if not all of the devs of Star Citizen, were fans of Star Citizen before they started to work at CIG. Like there's the handful of people who started at CIG were fans of Chris Roberts before they started working there. So, like they also want to see this happening because they think it's cool. So.
That would be another thing, by the way, that they could turn back on to hopefully generate some more player-generated content would be racing contracts and or race events.
Oh yeah.
That just like fell off. Like it was a thing for a while and now it's gone. And I understand that might have come with the server meshing and maybe that's part of the new Mission V2 like refactor, but man, I hope some effort, if that is the case, and I hope that's the effort that's going back into that, because sooner we start turning back on these things that could spur player generated content, the better.
Yeah. Commander Shadowstalker asks, what lesson do the captains think CIG will take away from the Second Life Initiative event? And do you think they're going to do the right lessons? Right. So I was at a conversation with somebody earlier about how the controversy around Flight Blades, that CIG took the wrong message, which is, we're not going to do Flight Blades anymore. It's like, no, nobody had a problem with the Flight Blades. It was the monetization of the Flight Blades that people had issues with. Even the most hardcore number crunching, sweaty content creators and players were taking a look at the blades and they were like, not really an advantage, disadvantage. Let's just sort of differentiate. It's okay. That's all I saw from people. It was the how they were selling content rather than giving it to us while we were playing is the issue. So the question is basically, do you think CIG took the right lessons from the issues that happened with the resource rush event, or will take them?
I'll offer up my
Good.
for me the most obvious one is one that I kind of feel like they should have had already. I don't want to like knock any of the devs or anything like that, because clearly developing a game like this with this at this scale is challenging, especially with these teams that are so large. Everybody's working on segments of the code in a different way, and different developers and cycling through engineers and stuff like that. But like the elevator issue. So I didn't play this patch when it first came out for a long time, because I was, I was kind of taking a little bit of a break. I was playing Dune Awakening. It was fun. But I did hear from a lot of my org mates where they were all kind of and YouTube, the community, people posting how frustrated they were with the elevators not working. And I didn't get into it until just like a week ago or so, and the elevators are still broken. To me, like, I would love to have some kind of understanding of, internally, what is CIG doing to recognize that there could be some technical issues that they've got to contend with. Like, how do you get to the point where you release something like this in such a buggy state? I know, absolutely, I understand the difference between putting something out in a test environment with limited use, limited limited simultaneous users. You don't necessarily get to push the limits of a multi-user system like that to really unlock and uncover the bugs that you could see. But like, it's still not fixed. That's the thing that gets me. After all, as long as this patch has been out, it's still broke. And somebody who, like me, who even gave it a break, how are they not able to get in there and still resolve it? That's the thing. It's one thing to like, okay, we didn't catch this bug because we weren't able to test it at scale. Well, now it's out live in scale. It's been out for quite a while, and people are bummed because they're unable to really complete these missions. That's what I would like to see. Like, I'm a developer, so I understand that it's easy to sit here and play Monday morning quarterback, from my comfy chair and complain about bugs. But still, even given those considerations, like how did they get to this state where something like that could not only be broken but be broken for so long? That is the one thing I would like to see. Like, mechanic wise, I think it's a cool idea. It was it's a good way to have non-combat content in the game and take advantage of the mechanics that are in there.
I love the event. Like we talked
yeah.
about this last week about how it, like, fundamentally it is a fantastic idea. And like everything about it is good except for the bug. That bug is the thing that killed it, and it was the Achilles heel.
Yeah.
It seems like CIG has taken the right lessons from this one, at least, because the monthly reports, they basically they said specifically, we think we've learned what went wrong and how to fix this in the future. Because like one of the biggest issues that most people, myself included, were pointing out was this has been a problem for a year.
Yeah.
Literally since the freight elevators were released, outpost elevators were broken. They would break all the time. And some people would say, oh, well, CIG was doing this essentially as a scale test and stuff like that. And as people in chat are saying, it was broken in PTU before they pushed it to release. They just pushed it broken because they thought they could fix it later.
Mm-hmm.
And while I understand this, they could have easily expanded this to their much not even abused, but like abandoned distribution centers. Distribution centers could have easily done this because they are more consistent. They could have done it at L stations. There's lots of like locations they could have gone. That's not just outposts. And so if they had those other missions options, people would just avoid the outposts and go to the other ones, which I get is not really ideal for them testing out outposts, that break. But at least having those options, people wouldn't have been mad. So And the general feeling I've seen is that there was a lot of people who were enthusiastic about this addition to the game, ran back to Star Citizen after taking a break or not even being back for like years, came in, got punched in the face by freight elevators, and left.
Yeah.
So like there was a huge spike of content and people playing, and then once they started experiencing the freight elevators breaking, they just left, and so
Yeah.
that number dropped. It could be wrong because we don't have access to CIG's internal numbers,
Yeah.
but
Well, not to have the mic here, but like after, like I said, I'm a perfect example of that. I took a break. My friends who were on the org in the org really kind of talked me into going back in there and playing, and it was fun playing with the guys.
yeah,
But I had to do the starter mission on my own, and I'm like, after coming away from Dune Awakening, it's a complete game that doesn't have as many bugs. I'm like, I'm gonna sit down and play Star Citizen and get back into it. And it was really hard because I couldn't get the first missions. I was going all over the place trying everything, logging out, switching servers, trying to find an elevator that worked. Kind of an obvious issue when you fly up and there's like 8 million rafts left to bend around the elevators, Uh, it was very discouraging, and I really had to push myself to go through it. And thankfully, I had friends who were kind of keeping me going on it. But if that environment wasn't there, absolutely, I could see how people would just put it down and come back a month later. And that is a detriment to CIG if they've spent all this energy on trying to make the game more stable, and it's clearly evident. But then they lose that goodwill by putting something like this out, or at least not finding some way to tackle it. And I don't want to judge because I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if it was an easy fix or if it was a really easy slip up or something. I'm not looking to like point at anybody, but it's hard for me to understand the rationale behind it.
yep. Nightcom, your thoughts? Do you think CIG has learned the right lessons from this event?
No. You know what the funny thing is? You guys talked about the lessons of the bugs and the technical issue that, that was a hurdle before they started. My problem is that stands in the way of them learning what they really should have learned as a lesson for this. And that's you shouldn't be just motivating us with colorful gear and stuff like that. Like I know everybody's doing the event and stuff like that, but so people want that stuff, but man, I had no investment in this. It was just like different colored guns, whatever. You can get the pulse pistol even in like the Hathor areas, so there's no reason to do it for that. The armor is medium armor even viable right now, other than for looks. Like nobody wears that. So what would have been and then even like the discount on the ships for whatever corporation wins, for wherever you buy it. And it's like, no, no, no. You guys had every opportunity to make this something we really gave a shit about. Like if you had made it so that like, hey, the company that wins this is going to be 25% less, fuel, ammo prices, or like restock fees and stuff like that at landing areas. Everybody else is going up by 100% if they lose.
Yeah.
Man, talk about some investment for some players at that point where it's like you got to give us something to lose to at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's what they just suck at this. It's always just there's a gain and it's not as impactful as they think it is. And even if that was just a short term, like, hey, next 6 months, if Crusader won this, those that pick the home location of Crusader are gonna pay way less than like value. But if you pick anywhere else, you're about to feel it. Like, why can't we have something like that in game where like I'm invested in a way, or even if it's just like hey, if Hurston, it's not just the Hurston ship prices, like attritions will go down in price.
Yeah.
That would have been a huge thing. Attritions are expensive as fuck. Um,
Yeah,
and
they are.
everybody likes to use them and stuff. So
They are going to go
that would
down
have
in
been some
price.
investment. Yeah, but then
But if they lost, they would go up 100% or whatever. Go up
Yeah.
25%. People would just go nope.
Yeah, but I mean, we would have been fighting over that stuff, and it would have been people trying to stop other corporation like uh progress. It wouldn't even just been like, "Hey, I want to, steal your cargo." It would have been I'm going to steal it from you while you're doing that and put it toward the company I need it to win. Anyway, they're not going to learn any of that lessons because the primary thing about this, like you guys said, is like they botched the freight elevator, so they made the entire event so hard that the CIG is never going to learn the lessons of how to properly run and motivate an event for us like this, in my opinion. They're just going to learn the lesson of, well, we should make sure the technical hurdles aren't going to stop us, which, I mean, don't get me wrong. That's a lesson to learn from this. Man, it's so low level at this point in time. That's not a lesson we should be learning at 13 years in.
Yeah.
They should be learning like what motivates us in their game world by now. And they're not going to.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to fucking care. They're just going to be like, let's just make sure that the technology works next time. Sorry, I ranted.
No, it's good. That's a good point. I think there's more lessons to learn than just the technical issues. That's good. And I think that they've learned at least some of the lessons, but I do also think that CIG has this bad habit of glomming on the wrong thing, and then as a result, not taking away the larger perspective. So,
Paul, you were there for the election. This was before my time in Star Citizen. There was an election thing in the game at one point in time.
Yeah.
Before the Imperator election?
Imperator, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff, but there needs to be a tangible consequence to the player if it doesn't go a certain way. Maybe a success in one area, but a consequence in another.
I mean, my thing was, if when now that Hurston's almost certainly going to win, Hurston should, now that they'll take over the control of the jump point. Now Hurston starts charging people admission to the jump point, or landing docking fees, because they got to make up the cost of reducing the cost, and that's exactly what Hurston would do, because Hurston are bastards. So that is entirely within their fiction, and it would so every time you jump through the jump point, it's like 200 credits. Got to go through the jump point. And you see a big 200 credits gone as a UI. Be like, what? It's like, yeah. Record a little Hurston, be like, because of increased cost of operations, we've charged you 200 credits to your account. Thank you for using the Hurston Dynamics' jump point.
I need it to be tangible, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know you're just using that as like a anecdotal example, but I mean, it would need to hurt. I would want it to be almost like in the hundreds of thousands to use the jump.
Yeah,
that would really change the game in a lot of ways. I need that. I need tangible consequence to the courses of action we take in these events and what we do. And this was a perfect opportunity to do that, because they were making it a corporation versus corporation, and they did the progress tracker, and I think they just they lowballed the shit out of it in terms of consequence.
It needs to be such a consequence that it changes how we play the game.
Yeah.
Not just a nice little story element. It's like, it's like in Helldivers when you lose a battle, planet's gone. And if you lose the wrong battle, you lose access to certain stratagems, or things get harder.
Yes. And somebody brought up in chat, this is the same problem with the save Stanton thing. I don't even remember who won. Was it Headhunters? Was it Citizens for Prosperity? Because I felt no difference in the gameplay.
I don't think they ever announced who won. whoever wins the Frontier Fighters lost is the narrative. So
yeah.
Yeah, let's move on. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 questions left. Next question comes from Escape, who asks, speaking of player-made content, where do I contact a group to produce a machinima mocking the Tumbril Storm's forward cockpit? Just get Loken. Just have Loken. Ask Loken about the forward cockpit of the Storm, and just record him on stream doing it, because he will rant about the dumbest. It's the dumbest design you can imagine. For those of you who don't know, if you don't even know what the Storm is, the only way,
that wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, because the only way you can enter the Storm is through the front, and it's a slow animation where you climb into a seat and then you get pulled into it, and all of the components are on the sides. So the places where you're most likely going to get hit in a tank battle, the front of your armor and the tracks are where all of the important things are. And if you get damaged and you can't move, to bail out, you have to get out of the front of the vehicle where you're probably pointing your vehicle in the direction of enemy fire. So you're just gonna die. You're just gonna get knocked out and immediately killed as you try to leave. So it's poorly designed, is to say the least. And I get its inspiration is that one famous flat tank that had the elevated gun that popped up. It was that sort of just the style. But like the fact that they kept being like, it's a mech. It's like, it's not a mech. This is a mech. This is the dumbest fucking mech I've ever seen. Mechs don't intentionally just have the only way to escape is through enemy fire. But all right, next question comes from Rhino Sephiroth, who asks, flat cats, yes or no for the next creature? So
I'm at a loss because I don't know what a flat cat is.
So flat cats were finally updated in the Galactopedia. They sneakily added flat cats to the Galactopedia. They'd mentioned it here a few times in the past, but they'd never really fully committed to it. And now it just randomly on a Tuesday got added to the Galactopedia piles without any fanfare. And a lot of people are pointing out that CIG has said in monthly reports that they're working on creatures, and flat cats are a pretty big creature. They're mentioned multiple places. For instance, because they're sort of endangered, the current CEO of Hurston to shoot back at environmental groups who were protesting Hurston's destruction of Hurston. He decided to mount Osoian heads and flat cat like receptors, or these little antennae, to his wall as a fuck you to these environmental people. So like they're a big part of the narrative. So the fact that they're being added to lore, of their lore is being added to the website usually indicates that they're working on them in some way, or working on something around it. So I
was hoping for the Stormwall.
Yeah, I don't know. Stormwall seems like it'd be an easy because they've had the animation.
They showed footage of it.
Yeah,
they showed footage of it at CitizenCon 2023.
Yeah, and they've had footage of it.
Video.
They've had footage of it since then too, in 2023 and 2024. So
yeah, so I was kind of hoping that was going to be one of the next ones. We got all the other creatures they showed in that video. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Plus one with the sandworm.
Oh yeah, and flat cat is mentioned in the 4.3 loading screen. So, maybe flat cats. I don't know, like because they're pets as well. So I don't know. Maybe they're trying to add them in there.
In-game pets. That must be the connection. I'm just kidding. That's not fucking happening, guys.
It's not. I think it's still going to happen because CIG can make an absurd amount of money, but it's not. They're not going to do that.
Dough.
Huh?
Cosmetic dough.
Yeah. But you're not going to see it until you can't accidentally vacuum your freaking pet into space, because the last thing CIG wants is for players to buy a Labrador Retriever from the store and immediately videotape themselves throwing a Labrador Retriever out an airlock because they want to get rage click. So. All right. Next question is from Commander Shadowstalker, who asks, what player crafted stuff would you like, but not expect to be implemented by CIG until well after 1.0? So clothes. That makes sense.
I was gonna say food and booze, like you said.
Yeah. I don't see it.
I don't think that's coming anytime soon.
I can still see him coming in before 1.0, but it'll be very basic stuff. It'll be like food, you put in raw animal bits and it pops out generic cooked meat.
Yeah, like a food bar. Absolutely, I could see that happening.
But I don't see them doing like tier 4 exotic whiskey in tier 1, because that's just too much. How do you get that to work and stuff like that?
Well, I guess the food is supposed to be a bit of a buff thing that that's what most of the other MMOs do, and CIG has kind of said that they wanted to go down that path, but they haven't really followed along it yet. So maybe when they get to that stage, yes, food will be a thing.
I think other than like clothing and food, I think a lot of cosmetics. So any of the sort of like random bits you'd want to decorate your like house with, your base with. So like monitors or plants or couches, like maybe couches, but like detailed furniture and such. So a lot of the cosmetic things. All right, Zero H BEG says, question: are y'all looking for a good org? Want to join the crew running an Idris every night? Join EC. And I'm only letting it happen because Radar Ranger is here, but
Enemy contact, go
Yeah.
for it. We are recruiting. Sorry, I'm getting razz for not doing this enough, so I'm dumping it all on you tonight.
Axis0096 asks, could we see alt builds with crafting?
Alt builds.
What is that?
I'm kind of curious too. I mean, I'm assuming. Well, the first thing I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of you, Night Cop here. Sorry, but the first thing I could think of is like the ability to have a you're building something but making an improvement or a change to it, and I would think that's kind of the default part, the default benefit of crafting. But it's hard to say. It's hard to interpret what that question really means.
Maybe alternative build structures.
Oh, like maybe if you go to build a hab, you can get a different style.
Sign. Yeah, different style.
Yeah. Oh.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think that would be even longer way off than like the food and booze special recipes.
Yeah.
I you know what though? If he's implying that we would be able to get a blueprint for a hab version A, version B, version C, absolutely, it would be in CIG's interest to sell a cosmetic for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To monetize it and sell different builds of hab A, like a small hab. Like they demoed it. The one they demoed at CitizenCon was a small hab, I think they called it.
Yeah.
If there's like 3 or 4 different types of a small hab and you can pay for one, Dune Awakening does that, where you can buy Atreides materials for building a base. That's actually kind of smart because you're not winning anything. It's not pay to win, and you're really just paying for cosmetics. So
yeah, and as well as you can unlock different cosmetics in game as well while also selling them. That's my biggest problem with CIG and like skins right now is like, yeah, the skins are you can buy them in game, and yeah, you can technically get them, but they're like a handful of skins that they're old. They haven't put any new ones. There's no way of looting for them. You can't unlock them from things. So when you have more of that, I think it would improve people's opinions on skins if you could get some of those cool skins in game. You're smiling, Night Cop. I don't know what that means.
I just like it when people quote the stretch goal stuff.
Oh yeah,
the chat, like we all haven't looked at the stretch goal stuff and then like seen it and been like, yeah, well,
yeah.
I get it. It's a stretch goal.
But if the question is, are we going to see alt accounts? Someone suggested maybe he was asking about alt accounts. Yeah, I think we'll see alt accounts for sure. But I mean, CIG's even talked about how one account is going to have different character slots. They've talked about that they're going to do character slots as a thing because they want to change from being just your account being your handle, but to being different characters. So, all right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. Axis0096 says, how might the Second Life initiative evolve into 4.4? I don't think we're going
to elevators. Sorry.
Did we get rated?
Yeah.
Oh, from Citizen Talk. Yeah. What's up, Citizen Talk? Thank you. I don't think we're going to see the current B plot is what they talked about in 4.4 because it's the last 2 patches have been about the B plot. You've had Stormbreaker and now the resource rush. And the 2 patches before that were the A plot, which was the Pyro Stanton War, where we had Hathor. Well, Hathor, that's sort of a Second Life initiative. Before that, we had the Save Stanton and Fight for Pyro, and the what was the other one? The Supply or Die one. So
yeah.
Yeah. So, and for 4.3.1 is going to be the end of the B story. Yeah. And then I think we'll get back to the A story with they've been setting some stuff up through leaks and through month reports and stuff like that. They're clearly setting some up for 4.4 at the end of the year. So I'm just hoping it's good. um, they've literally talked about the regen crisis being resolved in 4.3.1. Okay, yeah. Question. This comes from YouTube. I want you to note that, Paul. Since more and more studios jump on the bandwagon, could you see an option of CIG doing Twitch drops? Yeah. I don't see CIG doing Twitch drops anytime soon, though. So
1.0?
Maybe before 1.0. I think around 1.0. Probably Squadron. They'll probably do Twitch drops with Squadron. That would be smart for CIG to do, is Twitch drops with Squadron that are connected to Star Citizen. So like if you watch some player some streamers playing Squadron 42, you get some cosmetics for Squadron, but you also get some things for Star Citizen. Can't remember what the A story was. Pyro Stanton war. Factions in Pyro and factions from Stanton are fighting each other. Headhunters versus CFP.
Telling. That's so telling, by the way.
And no one remembers.
Yeah, it's like, and that's what I worry about with this A and B story. It's like, well, the regen crisis just kind of came and went. It didn't impact us in any way, shape, or form.
Nope. It just
you don't think the regen crisis will when it's all said and done?
Not in this year. I mean, maybe eventually down the line.
How would it? How would you have liked it to?
I don't. There was actually a piece of me that believed that it was some kind of underhanded way to kind of change the mechanics a little bit. It's been hinted that it was going to be for Death of a Spaceman, where the regen crisis only works or the regen process only works for a small percentage of people, and it just happens to be us players. That there are limitations that come out of it. That's how they wind up luring into existence the idea that we can't regen forever. They might be using it to make it so that only players can regen, and that's why the rest. Like if you really had a universe where there was no consequence to death, that might really impact how stories are told in the Star Citizen universe. People will go off like you. It doesn't make any sense for an NPC to run away from a fight because they could just regen if they die. So I could see how maybe they make it so that only the players are able to regen for some reason or another, because we have some kind of genetic trait that allows us to do it. Like in Eve, again, to use that as an example.
Capsuleers, yeah.
Capsuleers are the only people who can actually be these pilots and clones, I guess. So I don't know. Just a thought.
I would love it if that's the case, but I mean, I feel like that would feel weird if like 2 years from now, mechanic went in and they're like, it's from that regen crisis we all experienced 2 years ago, and everybody has to have that moment of what?
Agreed.
What are you talking about? I wasn't even here for that. What are we talking about?
Well, that would hopefully imply then that they actually did have a story arc with this thing. So who knows?
Yeah, and then the A story, it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. We don't feel any consequence of that.
I think it's going on. I think it's because A story fucking failed. Like they just flopped on their face with that story. It was their first attempt at telling a story, and half the things didn't work. So nobody, like, they were supposed to have data pads with that and didn't even spawn. Like, so I think it's just because Fight for Pyro, Save Stanton, and Supply or Die were just so not just forgettable, but so broken at their release that there's no impact in terms of even being able to tell the story. They're now just getting to the ability to be able to tell the story in a meaningful way with mission givers, with audio files, all that sort of things, that it's actually starting to come together. But you're right. They also need to have actual impact. A plot should have a conclusion, which leads the entire, changes the whole story going forward, which should change the player experience. It shouldn't just be thing you do, because that's just a sandbox event at that point. If it's just thing you do, then it's a dungeon, So, all right. Next question comes from another Mike, who asks, do you think 5 years after the release of Star Citizen 1.0, there will be more player-generated locations and related gameplay than CIG created. I hope so.
Yeah, same. That's literally what I said out loud. I said it, and I was just like kind of whisper. I was like, I freaking hope
I was
so.
trying to
Yeah.
read your lips. I'm like, is he going to speak?
Yeah.
I think that is a measure of success, frankly. Like
Yeah.
if they succeed with this game enough to draw in enough people to populate the universe with as many real humans as they really need to, then yeah, that should be the outcome. They're certainly setting it up for that because this huge universe that has so much potential really does provide, you know, a petri dish for this stuff to happen on its own. So it absolutely could. If they are successful, people like the game, they like the mechanics, and they stay with it. Look at Eve. He's been around for like 20, 25 years now, and absolutely most of the content in that game revolves around the players.
Yep.
So,
That doesn't mean that CCP doesn't make updates. They make updates to the story and to the universe all the time. It's just they don't rely on it because they know that the players will generate content themselves. So
yeah. They need to make sure they succeed with putting the tools out there so that the players can do that. Eve has found that niche.
And
there are a couple of MMOs that have not. So like Dual Universe just shut down recently.
Yeah.
And it was a cool idea. I played it for quite a while. I'm not really a game dev, so I couldn't really give you a post-mortem as to why it failed exactly. But that was an example of where they did have tools available, but something was missing and the players just kind of dropped out of it. I don't know. I mean, they also didn't have the attention that Star Citizen's got. So they have that going for them for sure. They have a legion of dedicated people who've been following this game for 15 years now, and if they do right by them and they introduce the right tools and they come out with it, then yeah, I think they should have every opportunity to succeed, and they will have. It's theirs to lose.
Yeah,
if that's the way to say it.
What was I gonna say? Oh, it's also important to point out that Star Citizen CIG isn't going to be able to make infinite amounts of money forever. There is a capstone. There is a capstone. At some point, their profits are going to drop because they either reach saturation, for whatever reason. So even if CIG is doing perfect, like look at World of Warcraft. Blizzard has been running World of Warcraft for 20 years, and it has not been kept the same highs of its highest high in terms of funding. And CIG is going to be in a similar position once they reach 5 years after, 10 years after 1.0. So having player generated content will increase the amount of engagement that players will have with the game naturally. So they don't have to have a team of 1,000 developers to continue to develop the game. They may have to hit that point where they're going to have to close studios, let people go. Obviously, none of us want that to happen. Hopefully, there'll be ways they can do other games like sequels to Squadron or something like that. But if that happens, having the player generated content keeps the game alive without having to have a legion of developers to constantly develop the game.
I at the risk of dragging this answer out too long, I would challenge that CIG is in the best position of any other game that I know of to break that chain, because they generate their money through ship sales mostly, not monthly player fees and things like that. And no one else has really done that yet. Everybody else, all these other formal games have been funded through subscriptions or one-time fees, or maybe in-game purchases and cosmetics and things like that. If CIG can keep this level of interest in the game, I think they might be one of the first companies to have the right business model to keep going. Because think of it this way, look how much money they make right now off of just I think it's fair to say, a group of devout niche players who've been following it for a long time. If they are successful with Squadron 42 in bringing in new meat, new eyeballs that get into this game and it can deliver for them, and they're like, wow, this thing's really cool, that could grow exponentially. And in such a way that if they continued on the same model, making ships and that was enough to keep bringing people back, and the player generated content was enough to keep people engaged and keep the longevity going. Like they could make way more money than Eve. Eve is a good example of, they're still around, but they're certainly, their profits have dipped a little bit and they're not making the kind of bucks when they were when they first started. But CIG could buck that trend. Absolutely, they're set up to do that. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just like copiuming here, but like I said, they're different. They're in a different bucket.
I agree. The CIG is built differently at this point compared to a lot of other companies, but change is constant. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So then they're going to have to adapt as the time goes on too. So,
there's your challenge, Chris.
I'll address this because it's also one of those things. People talking about how Squadron 42 is paid for, and some people are like, "Well, yeah, it's still being paid for." The difference is that CIG is in a unique position because there is no investor that they have who there's no EA saying we gave you $500 million to make Squadron 42. So in order for you to be successful, you have to make more than that to give back to us so that you can keep your studio open. If you don't, then we'll never work with you again. And then now CIG can't pay back their publishers, and they're fucked. There's none of that sort of thing going on because it's just players. So CIG isn't under the pressure that Squadron has to be a bajillion-dollar hit in order for it to be successful. Even if it doesn't have amazing sales out the bat, as long as it has consistent sales over its lifetime, it becomes a way that they can continue to make money in a different way from just selling ships. So, and then that's a unique position that basically only indie devs really have the luxury to experience. And even then, a lot of indie devs have invested a lot of their own personal money into the game, so they also need to pay back loans and pay back people that they have to. So it's just they're in a different position. But it's up to CIG to lose it. It's their game to lose.
Yeah.
Fred Eric Schultz asks, at Quantum Vegas, one group presented their idea for a community tool. Could you see that being the entrance for player-driven content besides just being a tool to organize your group? He's talking about the Star Trump. Star Trump has a new tool that they're building that's kind of helping organizing groups, including hangars and like community hangars and putting them into groups and stuff like that. It's a really good presentation. You have a chance to check that out on the Quantum Vegas YouTube channel.
Cool.
So no, as much as I love that tool, it's not directly connected to the game. They really need to have stuff connected to the game. CIG needs to build the tools. Like they need to have those social tools that Star Trump is building in the game so that people can utilize those, so you can have player generated content.
I was going to say the same thing along the lines of a mobile app like CIG. They're kind of already thinking this with Spectrum. Spectrum, I was a little bit surprised when they first came out with Spectrum years ago, but now I see the value in it. If you integrate it with the game, it becomes the connection between the game and the outside world. So you can be on your desktop playing around and communicate with people in the game without actually being in the game. What they really need to do is be able to take that a step forward and make it available on a mobile app. We've all got these devices in our pockets now, and yes, we have Discord and things like that. But if they really want to pursue this strategy of being integrated with the game and being able to benefit from that tight integration, make it so that you can send out, party invites from your app. Okay, I'm at home, I'm sitting on the couch, I get an in-party invite. I'm more apt to join and respond right then and there and say, yeah, let me get on my computer. I'll be on in 5 minutes. Than I would be like, maybe I'm stretching a little bit, but like I would see that if it was integrated with the game, it would be easier for the people to reach out to you, and it would be easier for you to respond back and get engaged. And you're right, it has to be connected to the game, though. That's the point.
It's what we talked about earlier with that contract system. If you had a Spectrum app on your phone that allowed you to like engage in contracts, like, hey, I'm doing this activity. It's not even just that I'm sending you a party invite. Like I need combat air patrol above Hathor right now. because our other guy went down and we got players harassing us. 200K, man, 200K. Or I'll give you the, the first pure Karenite pearl or whatever, and it's like, okay, jumping on the game, you know.
Yeah.
Or if it's hey, I just found this, NDB, you want it? Here's the contract for it. Here's the money. You give me the money and I'll ship it to you or whatever. Like that would
I, I,
be
I want to add one thing to this because this is something that I really strongly believe in. I really believe that most MMOs forfeit a really phenomenal opportunity to step up player engagement by not thinking about a good, well integrated mobile app. And again, I'm not a game dev, so there might be some people who have actually done this and done a better job of it. I haven't seen it yet, but it's like understandable that CIG spends most of their time on the engine and the game. That's what they're there for. But having that connection to a mobile device to be able to reach out and grab those people who are not currently engaged in the game is huge for player engagement. And I really think that if a game company had the wherewithal to put some mild effort into a mobile companion app that was done well and tried to solve the right problems with it, like you don't want just any old app with the Star Citizen logo on it. It's got to have some function and some value in it. And like the stuff that we've talked about, being able to make contracts and things like that, if you facilitate that, make it easier, you maximize the playability for the person who's not in the game. You maximize the playability for the person who's in the game. If I would love to see CIG someday take that effort to make that app because I really think they could knock it out of the park. They have the right kind of game for it. Sorry, that was my rant. I had to go on that.
no, it's fine.
I was responding to somebody in chat. I'll say this real quickly on this one because someone says, well, CIG does have investors and a big loan. That's the same thing. The Calders, they gave a loan, and that loan was them buying into the game, into the company. And every single time the Calders had a chance to withdraw their money, to take the money and go, they've chosen to not only stake it in, but they've chosen to double down in their investment. It's important to remember that the Calders, it's a no, not husband wife. It's a brother. It's a son and a father and son team, and both of them are friends with Chris, like personal friends with Chris. So this is not really the same sort of relationship as like DICE has with EA or Bungie has with Sony. It's not that sort of like you make the money or I kill you. It's sure, bud, we'll help you out. And every single time they've had a chance to pull out, they're like, nah, we'll double down because I like this. Let's do this. So, and while we haven't heard a lot from the Calders, all of their actions is much louder. So that's not really the same sort of situation. CIG doesn't have the pressure they need to make an X number of money for it to happen.
Yeah.
The loan is a bank? No. The only loan I've heard of is that the Calders loaned them a lot of money. And as part of that, they got part of the partial ownership. So they did take a bank loan too, but it was very low interest loan, and they where they reinvested it and made money. Okay, well I don't know if they pay that off. Also, there's also a lot of other factors that CIG has, like government rebates from the UK, sort of thing. So and it's the point is that you're pulling out like tiny little details which are not at all the same sort of idea that you would have with other companies. That's why I'm saying CIG is in a unique position that most companies don't have. So, all right. Last question. This is a big one. UT Vargan asks, how would the player-made content be communicated? So basically, how would other players, know that there is other player-made content out there?
I think it's an awesome question. Again, I don't want to keep jumping in front of you, Nightcub, so I apologize if I'm doing that. But it is an awesome question because it's true. There's a few different ways. Number one is through your friends and through orgs. If you're a member of an org, hopefully you'll likely be engaged with them in some way or another, and that kind of happens by nature. But the other way is CIG's participation. So Elite Dangerous is really good about taking game lore and putting it into newsletters. Like the new patches right now that we all play, they have that news screen online.
Mhm.
That would be a perfect place to talk about player conflicts. So there's plenty of mechanisms they have available to them to do that with, whether it's like watching one of your monitors when you log in to the game and you're in a bed. They have those monitors in your ship, have it playing a newsreel that's, automatically generated that's talking about one of the conflicts going on somewhere, or a new stash of resources that was discovered on a planet someplace and that there's fighting over it and all that stuff. There's a bunch of different ways to do it.
I also think that the CIG, I don't think CIG has to communicate that, because players will naturally do that themselves. You know how much stuff I know just because people come in chat and talk about it, or I see it posted on Reddit or like Discord or some other place. Like, players talk, and
well, I'm thinking of like new players who are just getting into the game and they might not necessarily have the connections yet to hear that from them. Maybe they're not on Reddit. Maybe they're not there.
CIG needs to fix their chat system, because if there was an actual like in-game chat box that people could use to talk about whatever, like market chat or whatever.
Yeah, it just goes back to those social tools that
Yeah,
they really
right.
need to.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Nightcub, how would they translate? How do you think CIG should inform players about player-made content?
I think it's just a retool again of the contract system. Like, if there were, wasn't there at one point in time a tab in the
For
Movie Glass that had like player
beacons.
beacons?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, God, if that just literally listed beacons, I would spend so much less time.
I think that's in the new
on-
tools, the new social tools. I think they demoed that.
Yeah.
It just goes back to, like, man, they gave us that presentation, and if I had to pick one of the things that probably I would have wished came sooner, it would have been that stuff.
Oh yeah. That's just so. I think most people, and people will rightfully hit on CIG being like, you're an MMO almost 15 years into development, and you still don't have social tools.
Yeah.
That should be the priority. That should be one of the number one things they do. And I get that sometimes they're like resistant because not all of the functionality is released that would support those tools, but like, they could at least make the baseline and release it so that we can have better control.
If you listen to the devs on stage, they know it. They know, like, they even made a crack about bringing us into the modern MMO era with social tools.
Yeah.
So I think it has come down to a priorities issue with resources.
Yeah.
And they're finally getting to the point where they have the resources to be able to do it.
Yeah. And I know it's a lot of things, like the permission system requires engineering, because each engineering, you can control each individual door. So with that, once that's in, then that means each individual door is its own entity, which means you can assign permissions to players in a ship to like what level entries required to get to the bridge, for instance, on a Polaris. So like, you don't just have randoms walking onto the Polaris and doing what they want to.
Yeah.
And we can see them experimenting with those things with like automatic teleportation if you get onto a ship in certain areas. Like, there are things they're working on with the tools they already have, but those player tools are so vital for everything, from communicating what player generated content is to creating player generated content. So, all right, that's the last question. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you check out Nightcob and Nightcob on Tree0311, as well as Atira Kel's YouTube channels.
I'm gonna have to start streaming again, man.
You can also check out Nightcob with Ammo, is the organization is with. And then of course we've got Radar Ranger. Check out my Radar, great weather app. And then of course, as he's been as his own org members have been pushing, Enemy Contact. And if you can check out us live at twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropub live. We do this at 4 p.m. on Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on Saturdays. And you can check out my org, League of Relic Enthusiasts. We do events pretty frequently, but we also always broadcast them on Saturday or Sundays.
We're doing one this Sunday.
Incredible name, by the way. I just am learning today that's what lore stands for.
League of Relic Enthusiasts. Yes.
Yeah, that is awesome.
We call it the League because it just sounds cool. That sounds gentlemanly, and as we are totally not the British Museum. I don't know what you're talking about. We are not taking relics from random natives and storing them from ourselves. They can't protect it themselves, right? They're not properly treating it. That's why we put the AR in archaeology.
I feel that one.
But of course, if you're listening to this on the podcast format, drop us a review, drop us a comment on your thoughts on anything we've talked about. If you're watching this on the YouTube video afterwards, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. Those all help a lot. Helps promote the both of those will help promote it to the algorithms, which will get more people to watch. And it helps me out. It makes me happy when I see that. Thank you for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.